My name is Cassandra, and at 32, I thought I had escaped the family drama by building my successful accounting career in Boston. My parents have always favored my younger brother, but I never expected them to cross this line. When they invited me to their Hawaii vacation, with the condition that I pay my entire way while covering my unemployed brother's expenses, I politely declined. Then my phone buzzed with bank notifications. They had charged my credit card for everyone's flights, hotels, and spa packages. What happened next changed everything. If you're watching this story, drop a comment letting me know where you're from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to see how this family vacation nightmare ends. Growing up in my household meant one unspoken rule: I had to work twice as hard to receive half the recognition my brother got. From the very beginning, the difference in how my parents treated us was painfully obvious, but as a child, I didn't have the vocabulary to describe what was happening. I just knew something felt unfair. My earliest memory of this disparity was my 10th birthday. I had asked for a bicycle for months, dropping hints and even cutting out pictures from catalogs. When the day came, I received a second-hand bike from our neighbor's daughter. It was functional but had chipped paint and squeaky brakes. I forced a smile and thanked my parents, trying to hide my disappointment. Just 6 months later, on my brother Jason's birthday, he unwrapped a brand new mountain bike with all the accessories. When I questioned the difference, my mother simply said, "Jason is a boy. He needs a sturdy bike for adventures." This pattern continued throughout our childhood. When I needed braces, my parents complained about the cost for months and made me get a weekend job at 14 to contribute to my orthodontic care. 3 years later, Jason got top-of-the-line braces without a single comment about the expense. High school graduation marked another pivotal moment. I had worked hard for a partial scholarship to a state university, maintained a 4.0 GPA, and participated in numerous extracurricular activities. My graduation gift was a card with $200. Jason, who barely graduated with a 2.5 GPA and no extracurriculars, received a car. Not a used economical vehicle, but a brand new sports car that my father proudly presented with keys wrapped in a bow. "Jason needs reliable transportation for college," my father explained when I asked why the different treatment. I didn't mention that I had been taking public transportation to my part-time job for years. Now at 32, I've built a life for myself despite the constant emotional hurdles placed by my family. I worked my way through college, often juggling 2 jobs while maintaining my grades. I graduated with honors in accounting and landed an entry-level position at a prestigious firm in Boston. Over the past decade, I've climbed the corporate ladder through determination and countless late nights, eventually becoming a senior accountant with a comfortable salary and respected position. Meanwhile, Jason, now 28, has drifted from job to job, never lasting more than 6 months in any position. He's been fired for tardiness, poor performance, and in one case taking company property. After each termination, he returns to our parents' home where they welcome him with open arms and financial support. They've paid his rent when he couldn't cover his car payments, and even paid off a significant credit card debt he accumulated during an impulsive trip to Las Vegas with friends. Our family vacations followed the same pattern of inequity. When I was in college, my parents planned a trip to Florida and invited both of us. The catch: I needed to pay for my flight and half of my hotel room, while they covered all of Jason's expenses. When I explained that I couldn't afford it as a student working part-time, my mother suggested I pick up extra shifts or take out a small loan. I declined, and they went without me, flooding social media with happy family photos captioned, "Wish you were here." After that experience, I stopped expecting fairness when it came to family events. For years, I tried to maintain a positive relationship with my parents, despite the obvious favoritism. I would visit during holidays, send thoughtful birthday and anniversary gifts, and call regularly. I attended family functions even when it meant rearranging my work schedule or canceling personal plans. I did this out of a sense of obligation and a desperate hope that one day they would see me as equal to my brother. My father, Richard, is a domineering man who built a successful construction business through sheer force of will. He expects unquestioning obedience and views any challenge to his authority as a personal attack. My mother, Linda, is a people pleaser who has spent 40 years mediating between my father's harsh demands and the rest of the world. She enables his behavior while attempting to soften the blow of his words and actions. Though she occasionally acknowledges the unfairness of their treatment toward me in private, she never stands up to my father in my defense. Jason learned early on how to manipulate this dynamic. He knows exactly how to play the victim, how to appeal to our mother's protective instincts, and how to frame his requests in ways that appeal to our father's ego. Dad, I need your expertise on this, or, Mom, I don't know what I'd do without your help, are phrases that open checkbooks and hearts in our household. 3 years ago, I started seeing a therapist to address the deep-seated issues stemming from this family dynamic. Dr. Morgan helped me recognize the patterns of emotional manipulation and the toll they had taken on my self-worth. I began to understand that my constant drive to prove myself, my workaholic tendencies, and my difficulty accepting praise all stemmed from a childhood of conditional love and unequal treatment. With therapy, I learned to build boundaries and to stop seeking validation from people unwilling or unable to give it. I focused on creating a chosen family of supportive friends and colleagues who value me for who I am. I purchased a lovely one-bedroom condo in a vibrant neighborhood of Boston, decorated exactly to my taste without considering anyone else's opinion. I built a life where I felt secure and appreciated. But family ties are difficult to sever completely. Despite the progress I made in therapy, a part of me still yearned for my parents' approval and love. That lingering desire for family connection is what made me answer the phone when my mother called about their upcoming Hawaii vacation, and what made the subsequent events so painful. The call came on a Tuesday evening as I was preparing dinner in my condo. I almost let it go to voicemail since I was in the middle of chopping vegetables, but seeing my mother's name flash across the screen made me pause. She rarely called on weekdays unless it was important. Cassandra, darling. My mother's voice carried that special tone of excitement she only used when sharing big news. I have something wonderful to tell you. I balanced the phone between my ear and shoulder, continuing to chop bell peppers for my stir-fry. Hi, Mom. What's going on? Your father and I have been planning something special, a real treat for the whole family. We're going to Hawaii 10 days at the Grand Wailea Resort on Maui. 5-star accommodations, ocean views, the works. I stopped chopping, genuinely surprised. My parents typically vacationed at familiar destinations on the East Coast or took cruises. Hawaii was ambitious and unexpected. Wow, that sounds amazing, I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm while wondering why she was telling me. Family vacations had become a sore spot over the years. It's going to be absolutely perfect, she continued. The resort has 5 swimming pools, a spa water slides, and it's right on the beach. We've already booked helicopter tours, a sunset dinner, cruise, and tickets to an authentic luau. We want this to be a special family reunion trip. My heart lifted slightly at the inclusion of family reunion. Was this an olive branch? After years of therapy and establishing boundaries, were they finally recognizing me as an equal part of the family? That sounds wonderful, Mom. When are you planning this trip? I asked, allowing myself to feel a glimmer of hope. 3 weeks from now. We got an incredible deal, but we had to book quickly. Jason's already confirmed he can make it. We really want you there too, Cassandra. It wouldn't be the same without our whole family together. I was genuinely touched. Maybe things were changing. Maybe the work I'd done to establish healthier boundaries had made an impact. Maybe they finally saw me as an adult worthy of inclusion. That's really nice of you to include me, Mom. I think I might be able to get the time off work with 3 weeks' notice. My team just finished a big project, so the timing could work. Oh, that's wonderful news. Your father will be so pleased. He's right here, actually. Let me put him on. There was a rustling sound as the phone changed hands. My father's gruff voice replaced my mother's cheerful one. Cassandra, your mother tells me you're interested in joining us in Hawaii. Hi, Dad. Yes, it sounds like an amazing trip. I'd love to be included in the family vacation. Well, here's the thing, he said, his tone shifting to what I recognized as his business voice. Since you're doing so well with your fancy accounting job in Boston, you'll need to cover your own expenses. The flights are running about $1,500 round trip, and your share of the resort will be about $400 per night for 10 nights. Then there are the excursions, meals, and incidentals. You're looking at about $10,000 total. The sudden shift felt like a bucket of cold water. I gripped the counter to steady myself. Oh, I see. And is everyone covering their own expenses, I asked already, knowing the answer. Jason's going through a rough patch right now. You know he lost his job at the tech company 3 months ago. Your mother and I are covering his portion since he can't afford it. But you're doing well financially, so we expect you to pay your way. I took a deep breath, feeling the familiar sting of unequal treatment. Dad, that doesn't seem fair. Why am I the only one expected to pay my own way? Fair. What's not fair about it? You make good money. Jason doesn't have a job right now. It's completely fair based on your different situations. But that's not how family vacations work, I argued. Either everyone pays their own way or it's treated as a family gift. You can't invite one child for free and make the other pay full price. Don't tell me how family vacations work, my father snapped. This is our trip and we make the rules. If you want to come, these are the terms. If not, we'll go without you. In the background, I could hear my mother's anxious voice. Richard, don't be so harsh. Let me talk to her. No, Linda. She needs to understand how the real world works. Not everything is handed to you on a silver platter, Cassandra. The irony of this statement, given how much they had handed to Jason over the years, was not lost on me. I felt a familiar mix of hurt anger and resignation wash over me. Can I think about it and let you know I asked, buying time to process my emotions? Sure, think about it, but we need to finalize everything by Friday. Your mother will send you the details. There was more rustling and my mother came back on the line. Cassandra, please don't be upset. You know how your father can be. We really want you to come with us. It wouldn't be the same without you. I'll think about it, Mom, I said, my voice tight with restrained emotion. After hanging up, I abandoned my half-prepared dinner and sank onto my couch, emotions swirling. The familiar patterns were playing out once again. I was the responsible one, the one expected to carry my own weight, and then some, while Jason received unconditional support regardless of his choices. That evening, I received a detailed email from my mother with links to the resort flight information and a breakdown of expected costs. The total came to just over $9,000, not including shopping or additional activities I might want to do. The email ended with a guilt-inducing plea. We really hope you'll join us. It's been so long since we've all been together as a family. I also received a text from Jason's mom. Says you're being difficult about Hawaii. Just pay up and come. Don't ruin this for everyone. I spent the night weighing my options. Part of me wanted to give in to pay the exorbitant amount just to be included, to keep trying for that elusive family acceptance. But Morgan's voice echoed in my head. Accepting unfair treatment doesn't lead to better treatment. It only reinforces the pattern. By morning, I had made my decision. I called my mother knowing she would answer rather than my father at this hour. Mom, I've thought about the Hawaii trip and I'm going to decline. The cost is too high for me right now, and frankly, I don't think it's fair that I'm the only one expected to pay. Oh, Cassandra, my mother sighed. I was afraid you'd say that. Your father will be so disappointed. I'm disappointed too, Mom. I would have loved to join a true family vacation where everyone is treated equally. But Jason can't afford it right now. I understand that, but there are other solutions. You could have asked me to contribute what I can afford or asked Jason to contribute in non-financial ways. Instead, you created an all-or-nothing situation where I'm the only one expected to pay full price. Well, when you put it that way, my mother started, then trailed off. I'll tell your father, but he won't be happy. I understand. I love you, Mom, but I need to respect myself too. My father called an hour later, his voice stern and accusatory. So you're choosing not to be part of this family event. Your mother is upset. Dad, I'm choosing not to participate in an arrangement where I'm treated differently than my brother. If the invitation had been extended equally to both of us, I would have gladly accepted. This is typical of you, Cassandra. Always making everything more complicated than it needs to be. A simple yes or no would have sufficed. The answer is no thank you, I said firmly. I hope you all enjoy Hawaii. He hung up without saying goodbye. Over the next few days, I received multiple texts from both my parents and Jason, ranging from guilt-tripping to outright accusations of selfishness. I responded politely but firmly maintaining my boundary. By the weekend, the messages stopped and I assumed the matter was closed. They would go to Hawaii without me, as had happened with so many family events before. Little did I know that declining this invitation would set off a chain of events that would ultimately transform my relationship with my family forever. 1 week after declining the Hawaii invitation, I was at work reviewing quarterly tax projections when my phone buzzed with a bank notification. I ignored it, initially focused on finishing my task before a client meeting. When 3 more notifications came in rapid succession, I finally checked my phone. My stomach dropped as I read the alerts. Chase credit card purchase authorized at Hawaiian Airlines, $6,425.5. Chase credit card purchase authorized at Grand Wailea Resort, $8,950.00. Chase credit card purchase authorized at Maui Luxury. Spa packages, 1,600 action on 00. I quickly opened my banking app, hands shaking. There they were. 3 massive charges to my credit card, totaling over $17,000. For a moment, I thought my card had been compromised by identity thieves. Then, a sickening realization washed over me. These weren't random charges. They were for flights, hotel, and activities in Hawaii. For my family's vacation. My mind raced back to Christmas last year when I had used my credit card to purchase online gifts for my parents. My mother had asked me to show her how to navigate a particular website for future reference, and I had logged in on her computer. I must not have logged out properly, or perhaps she had watched me enter my information. Either way, someone had my credit card details and was using them without permission. I scrolled through the charges in disbelief. 4 round-trip tickets to Hawaii, not 3. They had planned for me to join them all along. A hotel booking for 2 rooms for 10 nights. Spa packages, tour reservations, and a rental car, all charged to my card without my knowledge or consent. With trembling fingers, I called my mother. No answer. I called my father. Straight to voicemail. I texted both of them. Did you charge your Hawaii vacation to my credit card? Please call me immediately. While waiting for a response, I called Jason, who picked up on the 3rd ring. What he answered sounding annoyed. Jason, did you know Mom and Dad charged their entire Hawaii trip to my credit card? There was a pause, then a sigh. Oh, they went ahead with that plan. I told them it wasn't a good idea. You knew about this. My voice rose in shock. And you didn't warn me. Look, they figured since you refused to pay your own way, this was how you could contribute to the family. Dad said you owe them for all they've done for you over the years anyway. I was speechless for a moment, trying to process the breathtaking entitlement behind this reasoning. Jason, that's credit card fraud. It's literally a crime. They had no right to use my card without permission, especially after I explicitly declined to go on this trip. Don't be so dramatic. It's family, not fraud. Besides, you can afford it with your big-shot job. Just consider it a gift. A $17,000 gift I never agreed to give. That's not how gifts work, and you know it. Whatever. You've always been selfish. This is why you're always left out of family stuff. I ended the call before saying something I might regret. My hands were shaking with anger and disbelief. I excused myself from work, telling my supervisor I had a family emergency, and headed home to address this situation properly. On the drive home, my mind cycled through options. I could 1. Pay the charges and avoid confrontation, essentially rewarding their behavior. 2. Call the credit card company to dispute the charges as fraudulent. 3. Confront my parents and demand they reverse the charges immediately. 4. Contact law enforcement and file a police report for credit card fraud. Option 1 was out of the question. Not only could I not actually afford a sudden $17,000 expense, but paying would send the message that their behavior was acceptable. Option 4 seemed extreme as an immediate response, though I didn't rule it out if other approaches failed. At home, I called my credit card company first. I explained that unauthorized charges had been made by family members without my consent. The representative was sympathetic and walked me through the dispute process. I officially contested all the Hawaii-related charges and requested that my card be frozen to prevent any additional unauthorized purchases. The representative advised me to change all my passwords and consider filing a police report, as family fraud was unfortunately common. After hanging up, I tried calling my parents again. This time, my father answered. "What is it, Cassandra? We're busy packing." "Did you use my credit card to pay for your Hawaii vacation?" I asked directly. There was a pause then. We decided it was the fair way for you to contribute since you refused to join us properly. Your mother still had your information saved from Christmas. The casual way he admitted to the theft stunned me. "Dad, that's theft. You committed credit card fraud. I never gave you permission to use my card." "Don't be ridiculous. We're family. Besides, we included your ticket in the package. You can still come if you stop being difficult." "I've already reported the charges as fraudulent and frozen my card. The charges will be reversed." There was a moment of silence then, an explosion of anger. "You did what, you ungrateful child? After everything we've done for you?" "What you did was illegal, Dad. I'm giving you the opportunity to make this right. Reverse the charges yourself, or the credit card company will do it for you, and there will be an investigation for fraud." "You wouldn't dare go that far. We're your parents." "Being my parents doesn't give you the right to steal from me. I've always been treated as less important than Jason, but this crosses a line I can't ignore. This is all going to blow up in your face, Cassandra. You mark my words." He hung up. Minutes later, my phone exploded with texts from my mother, alternating between pleading and guilt-tripping. "Please reconsider, darling. We just wanted a family vacation. Your father is livid. You know how his blood pressure gets. We can't afford to pay for this ourselves. We already told all our friends about the trip. Jason is devastated. He was looking forward to family time." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I made a detailed record of all the charges, saved screenshots of the transactions, and documented my conversations with my family members. Something told me I might need this evidence later. That evening, I called Dr. Morgan and scheduled an emergency therapy session for the following day. I needed professional guidance to navigate this unprecedented breach of trust and boundaries. As I tried to sleep that night, my phone continued to buzz with messages from my family, cycling through anger, bargaining, and guilt-tripping. I finally turned it off and tried to rest, knowing the situation was far from resolved. 2 days later was the scheduled departure date for the Hawaii trip. I had been mostly ignoring my family's increasingly desperate messages, responding only to clarify that I would not reverse the fraud claim and that they needed to make other arrangements. By now, the credit card company had begun the dispute process, and I had received confirmation that the charges were under investigation. I was at my desk at work, trying to focus despite the ongoing family drama, when my phone lit up with a text from Jason. Unlike the angry messages of the previous days, this one had a panicked tone. "They're denning our tickets at the gate. The hotel just called too and said our reservation is canceled. What the hell did you do?" I took a deep breath. Before responding, I did exactly what I said I would do. I disputed the fraudulent charges on my credit card. 3 dots appeared as he typed disappeared, then reappeared. "Finally, you've ruined everything. Mom is crying in the airport. Dad is yelling at the airline staff. They won't let us board without payment." "What you all did was illegal," I replied calmly. "You can't use someone's credit card without permission. That's theft." "It's family. We just wanted you to contribute." "I'm doing what you said, paying my own way, not yours." My phone rang immediately. It was Jason, and I could hear the chaotic background noise of the airport terminal. "Fix this right now," he demanded. "Tell the credit card company it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. It was fraud. You all knew exactly what you were doing." "Dad wants to talk to you." There was shuffling, and then my father's voice came through low and threatening. You listen to me, young lady. You call your credit card company right now and tell them you authorize these charges, or so help me. Or what, Dad? I interrupted. What will you do? Because what you've already done is credit card fraud, which is a felony. If you threaten me, that's another crime to add to the list. How dare you speak to me like that? I am your father. And I'm an adult who you stole from. Being my father doesn't give you the right to take my money without permission. We have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars raising you, putting you through college. You contributed $5,000 to my college education, which I've thanked you for repeatedly. I paid the rest through scholarships, loans, and working throughout school. Meanwhile, you fully funded Jason's education, bought him cars, paid his rent, and covered his debts. The double standard ends now. I could hear my mother in the background, crying and pleading with my father to calm down. He ignored her. You will regret this, Cassandra. You mark my words. Family is all you have in this world, and you're throwing it away over money. No, Dad. I'm establishing a boundary after years of unequal treatment. What happens next is up to you. I ended the call and immediately blocked all their numbers. My hands were shaking, but for the first time in my life, I felt a strange sense of power. I had stood up for myself against the people who had diminished me for decades. I called my supervisor and explained that I needed the rest of the day off, due to the ongoing family emergency. She was understanding, having noticed my distraction over the past few days. I drove home in a daze, a mix of emotions swirling through me: guilt for causing a scene at the airport, vindication for standing up for myself, fear about the potential fallout, and grief for the loving family relationship I had always craved, but never had. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine and called my closest friend, Alice. They did what? She exclaimed when I explained the situation. Cassandra, that's not just dysfunctional family drama. That's actual crime. I know, I sighed. Part of me feels terrible for leaving them stranded at the airport, but another part feels like they brought this on themselves. They absolutely brought this on themselves, Alice affirmed. What did they think would happen that you'd just eat a $17,000 charge without question? I think they genuinely believed I owed it to them. That's the scariest part. The entitlement runs so deep. You did the right thing, Alice assured me. Do you want me to come over? You shouldn't be alone right now. I considered her offer. Thanks, but I think I need some space to process everything. Can I call you if I change my mind? Anytime, day or night. And Cassandra, change your locks. Seriously. After we hung up, I took Alice's advice seriously. I called a locksmith who promised to come first thing the next morning. Then I checked all my windows and doors to make sure everything was secure. I spent the evening alternating between anxiety and a strange sense of liberation. For the first time, I had enforced a consequence for my family's mistreatment. The guilt was there, ingrained by years of being told that family obligation trumped personal boundaries, but beneath it was a steady certainty that I had done the right thing. Before bed, I unblocked my phone briefly to check if there were any emergency messages. There were dozens of texts and voicemails, most expressing outrage, but one from my mother gave me pause. We're staying at the airport hotel tonight. Your father is making plans. Please be careful, Cassandra. I've never seen him this angry. The warning sent a chill through me. I double-checked all my locks, then tried to get some sleep, uncertain what the next day would bring. I awoke the next morning to the sound of movement in my living room. For a moment, I thought I was dreaming, but then I heard the distinct clink of keys being set on my glass coffee table. Fully alert now, I reached for my phone and quietly dialed 911, keeping my finger over the call button. Carefully, I slipped out of bed and crept to my bedroom door, which was slightly ajar. Through the crack, I could see 3 figures moving around my living room: my father, mother, and Jason. My father was rifling through the papers on my desk while my mother stood nervously by the door. Jason was examining the framed photos on my wall. Where would she keep her financial documents? My father muttered. We need to find her credit card statements. Richard, I don't think we should be doing this, my mother whispered. Breaking into her apartment is going too far. We didn't break in, my father retorted. We used the spare key you've had since she moved in. And we're not stealing anything, we're just looking for evidence. Evidence of what my mother asked. Evidence that she authorized those charges, of course. Something we can use to fight the credit card dispute. I felt a surge of anger and stepped into the doorway. You won't find any evidence because I never authorized those charges. All three of them jumped startled by my sudden appearance. My father recovered first, his expression hardening. Cassandra, we need to talk about what you did. What I did. You stole my credit card information and charged $17,000 without my permission. Then you broke into my home. Those are both crimes. Don't be dramatic, Jason interjected. We're family. We used a key, and Mom and Dad just needed to borrow the money temporarily. Borrowing involves asking permission, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. And entering someone's home without their knowledge or consent is breaking and entering family or not. I held up my phone so they could see the 911 call ready to be placed. I'm asking all of you to leave right now or I'm calling the police. My father took a step toward me, his face flushed with anger. You, ungrateful child. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. By ruining our vacation and threatening to call the police on your own family. What exactly have you done for me that equals $17,000, I asked. Because from where I'm standing, I've been treated as less than Jason my entire life. I've worked for everything I have, while you've handed him everything on a silver platter. That's not true, my mother protested weakly. Isn't it who got a car for graduation, not me? Who had college fully funded, not me? Who gets bailed out financially every few months, not me? And now who was expected to fund a luxury vacation for the entire family? Only me. I discreetly pressed the video record button on my phone, capturing the confrontation. My father noticed and lunged for the device. Give me that phone, you're not recording us. I stepped back quickly. Don't touch me or my property. This is my home and you're here illegally. We came to work this out as a family, my mother pleaded. We just need you to tell the credit card company you authorized those charges. We can't afford to pay for the trip ourselves. And we've already lost the first day. I'm not going to lie about fraud, I said firmly. What you did was wrong and I'm not covering for you. You've always been difficult, my father spat. Always thinking you're better than us with your fancy job and your city apartment. Well, let me tell you something. You're nothing special, Cassandra. You're just a stuck-up, selfish woman who's going to end up alone because no one can stand your attitude. His words were designed to wound-hitting insecurities he'd helped install over decades, but therapy had given me tools to recognize this tactic. If standing up for myself makes me difficult, then I'm proud to be difficult, and I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who don't respect my boundaries. Boundaries, my father scoffed. There are no boundaries in family. We're blood. Blood doesn't entitle you to my money or my home, I replied. Now please leave before I call the police. Jason stepped forward, his face twisted with anger. You've always been jealous of me. That's what this is really about. You're punishing all of us because Mom and Dad love me more. The raw admission of what I'd felt my entire life coming from Jason's own mouth momentarily stunned me. He seemed to realize what he'd said and backtracked. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did, I said quietly. And you're right. They have always loved you more, or at least shown it more. But this isn't about jealousy. It's about respect and legal boundaries. My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red. You think you're so perfect. Let's see how perfect your boss thinks you are when I tell him about that incident in college. He was referring to a party where I'd been falsely accused of cheating on an exam. I'd been cleared of all charges after an investigation, but my father had always chosen to believe I was guilty and had somehow gotten away with it. Go ahead, I said, surprising myself with my calmness. That accusation was proven false 15 years ago. I have the documentation clearing my name. All you'll do is make yourself look foolish and vindictive. My father seemed taken aback by my lack of fear. He'd used this threat to control me for years, and now it had lost its power. This isn't over, he threatened. If you go through with this fraud claim, you're no longer part of this family. If being part of this family requires me to accept theft and invasion of my home, then maybe I'm better off without it. Jason suddenly lunged for my phone, trying to grab it from my hand. I jerked back, but he caught my wrist, twisting painfully. "Give me the phone. You're not showing that video to anyone." "Let go of me," I shouted, trying to pull away. My mother screamed, "Jason, stop it right now." In the struggle, I managed to press the call button on the 911 screen. The dispatcher's voice came through clearly. 911, what's your emergency?" Everyone froze. I raised the phone to my ear, maintaining eye contact with my family. "This is Cassandra Andrews at 247 Marlborough Street, Apartment 3B. There are intruders in my home who entered without permission and are refusing to leave. One of them just physically assaulted me trying to take my phone. I need police assistance immediately." "Officers are on their way, ma'am. Are you in a safe location?" "I'm still in the apartment with them. They're my estranged family members who had a key without my knowledge." My father's face drained of color as he realized the seriousness of the situation. "You're having us arrested, your own family. I asked you to leave peacefully. You refused, and then Jason assaulted me. What did you expect would happen?" "We're leaving," my mother said quickly, tugging at my father's arm. "Richard, Jason, let's go right now before the police arrive." "This isn't over," my father threatened again as my mother dragged him toward the door. "You'll regret this, Cassandra." Jason gave me one last venomous look before following them. As they reached the door, I called out, "Leave my spare key on the table." My mother hesitated, then placed the key on the entryway table before hurrying out after my father and brother. I locked the door behind them and leaned against it, shaking with adrenaline and emotion. "Ma'am, are you still there?" the dispatcher asked through the phone. "Yes," I answered, my voice quavering. "They've left, but I'd still like the police to come. I need to file a report about what happened here today and about the credit card fraud they committed. Officers should be there in about 5 minutes. Would you like to stay on the line until they arrive?" "Yes, please," I said, sliding down to sit on the floor, my back against the door as if my body could prevent their return. "Yes, I'd like that very much." The police arrived promptly, 2 officers who took my statement with professional courtesy. I showed them the video I had recorded of the confrontation, explained about the credit card fraud, and provided documentation of the disputed charges. They noted the red marks on my wrist, where Jason had grabbed me, and took photographs for their report. "Do you want to press charges for the assault and breaking and entering?" the female officer asked gently. I hesitated, the lifetime of conditioning to protect my family warring with my need for justice and security. I need to think about that. But I definitely want this incident documented, and I want to pursue the credit card fraud case. "That's understandable," she replied. "Credit card fraud is handled by our Financial Crimes Division. They'll be in touch within 48 hours. In the meantime, we strongly recommend you change your locks today." "The locksmith is coming this morning," I assured them. "Good. And consider getting a security system, or at least a camera for your door. Family disputes can escalate unpredictably." After they left, the locksmith arrived and changed all my locks. I also ordered a video doorbell system for additional security. By noon, my home was physically secure, but my emotional state remained fragile. I called Dr. Morgan and was grateful when she offered to see me that afternoon. In her calm office, surrounded by soft lighting and comfortable furniture, I recounted the events of the past few days. "You've been through a significant trauma," Dr. Morgan observed when I finished. "Not just the recent events, but the lifetime of emotional manipulation that preceded them." "I feel both terrible and vindicated," I admitted. "Part of me wonders if I went too far having them nearly arrested. They're still my family." "Being family doesn't give someone the right to steal from you or invade your home," Dr. Morgan reminded me. "You set a reasonable boundary, and they not only crossed it, but responded with escalating violations. Your reaction was proportionate to their actions." "What do I do now?" I asked, feeling lost. "Do I press charges? Do I cut contact completely?" "Those are significant decisions that you don't need to make immediately," she assured me. What's most important right now is your safety and emotional well-being. Let's focus on immediate steps to secure both. We developed a plan. Maintain the no-contact period for at least 2 weeks to allow emotions to cool. Continue with therapy sessions twice weekly during this crisis period. Connect with supportive friends for social interaction and consult with a lawyer about my legal options. Following Dr. Morgan's advice, I made an appointment with a family law attorney the next day. Miss Peterson listened carefully to my story, reviewing the evidence I had gathered. You have a strong case for credit card fraud, she confirmed. And the breaking and entering, while complicated by their having a key, is still actionable, given that they entered without permission and refused to leave when asked. What about a restraining order? I asked. Based on the physical altercation and threats, yes, you could petition for a temporary restraining order. It would prohibit them from contacting you or coming near your home or workplace. The thought of legally barring my family from contacting me was simultaneously heartbreaking and relieving. I need to think about that, I said. Of course. In the meantime, I recommend documenting any contact they attempt to make. Save texts, emails, voicemails, everything. If they escalate, having a paper trail will be important. That evening, I had dinner with Alice, who had been checking in on me regularly since the airport confrontation. I'm proud of you, she said as we shared a bottle of wine in my newly secured apartment. Standing up to family is one of the hardest things to do, especially when they've conditioned you to accept mistreatment. I still feel guilty, I admitted, like I'm betraying some fundamental rule by standing up to them. That's the conditioning talking, Alice pointed out. They installed those guilt buttons and have been pushing them your whole life. Breaking free was never going to feel comfortable. Over the next few days, messages began arriving from extended family members. My Aunt Susan, my father's sister, called to express her shock at what had happened. I always knew Richard favored Jason, but I had no idea things had gotten this bad, she said. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing, standing up for yourself. My cousin Mark sent a supportive text. Just heard what happened. Uncle Richard has always been a bully. If you need anything, I'm here. Not all reactions were positive. My mother's brother left an angry voicemail, accusing me of destroying the family over a simple misunderstanding about money. My grandmother sent a tearful message, begging me to forgive my parents before it's too late to reconcile. A week after the break-in, I received a text from Jason that surprised me. I've been thinking about what happened. I shouldn't have grabbed you like that. I was wrong. It wasn't a complete apology. He didn't acknowledge the credit card fraud or the breaking in, but it was the first time I could remember Jason admitting any wrongdoing. I didn't respond immediately, unsure if this was a genuine step toward accountability or just another manipulation tactic. The credit card company completed their fraud investigation and ruled in my favor, reversing all charges and implementing additional security measures on my account. I received a certified letter from my parents' lawyer, demanding I cease making false fraud claims and threatening a lawsuit for defamation. Miss Peterson assured me the letter had no legal merit and advised me not to respond. 2 weeks after the break-in, I was still struggling with the decision about whether to pursue criminal charges or a restraining order. The immediate danger seemed to have passed. There had been no further attempts to contact me directly from my parents, but the emotional wounds remained raw. In therapy, Dr. Morgan helped me explore the complex grief I was experiencing. You're mourning the loss of the family you deserved, but never had she explained. And you're also grieving the loss of the hope that your parents might someday change and give you the love and recognition you deserve. Will I ever stop hoping for that? I asked. With time and work, you'll come to accept the reality of who they are rather than who you wish they were, she said gently. That acceptance brings its own kind of peace. I spent hours considering my options, weighing the potential consequences of each path forward. Criminal charges would likely permanently sever my relationship with my family, but might provide closure and justice. A restraining order would create legal protection, but might escalate tensions. Doing nothing legally might leave me vulnerable, but could leave the door open for potential reconciliation if genuine change occurred. After much reflection, I decided on a middle path. I would not press criminal charges for the break-in, but I would proceed with a civil case regarding the credit card fraud, seeking damages for the emotional distress it had caused. I would not pursue a restraining order yet, but would document any contact attempts meticulously. I also made a crucial decision about my own life. I would use this painful experience as a catalyst for positive change. I requested a sabbatical from my accounting firm, surprising myself with this break from my workaholic tendencies. They approved a 3-month leave, recognizing my years of dedicated service and perfect performance record. With this time, I planned a personal journey of healing and self-discovery. Not a luxury resort vacation, but a mindful exploration of places I had always wanted to visit, with plenty of time for reflection, journaling, and connecting with my authentic self away from family expectations and pressures. The night before I was set to leave on my journey, I received one more text from Jason. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how Mom and Dad treated us differently. I never saw it before, but I'm starting to. I'm sorry, Cass, for everything." For the first time since this ordeal began, I felt a glimmer of hope, not for the fantasy family I had always wanted, but for the possibility of authentic, respectful relationships built on new foundations. I replied simply, "Thank you for saying that, Jason. It means a lot." As I packed my bags for my journey of self-discovery, I felt lighter than I had in years. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time I was choosing my own path, free from the weight of unequal expectations and unearned guilt. 6 months have passed since the day my family broke into my apartment, and my life has transformed in ways I never imagined possible. The journey I embarked on wasn't just a physical exploration of new places, but an internal expedition to rediscover myself outside the confines of my family's expectations and patterns. During my 3-month sabbatical, I visited places that had always called to me but that I had never prioritized. The redwood forests of Northern California, the painted deserts of New Mexico, the coastal villages of Maine. I stayed in modest accommodations, hiked alone for hours, journaled extensively, and for the first time in my adult life, I listened deeply to my own desires and needs, without filtering them through the lens of family approval. Upon my return to Boston, I established clear, healthy boundaries with my family. The legal proceedings regarding the credit card fraud concluded with a settlement. My parents admitted wrongdoing, agreed to financial counseling, and established a payment plan to reimburse me for legal fees and emotional distress. More important than the money was their formal acknowledgement of the harm they had caused. My father's initial rage eventually gave way to sullen acceptance, and surprisingly moments of genuine reflection. During a mediated conversation 3 months after the incident, he admitted, "I've always been harder on you because I saw more potential in you. I thought pushing you would make you stronger, but I see now that I was unfair." It wasn't a complete transformation or a perfect apology, but it was more self-awareness than he had ever shown before. The legal consequences and public embarrassment within our extended family had cracked his armor of self-righteousness. My mother took longer to understand her role in enabling the dysfunction. Through family therapy sessions that Dr. Morgan recommended, she began to recognize how her peacekeeping at all costs had actually perpetuated harm. "I thought I was protecting everyone by smoothing things over," she admitted during a particularly emotional session, "but I was really just avoiding my own discomfort with conflict." Most surprising was Jason's evolution. The financial catastrophe of the canceled Hawaii trip became a turning point for him. With no parents to bail him out, they were now focused on their legal issues and payment plan. He was forced to find steady employment. He secured an entry-level position at a marketing firm, and for the first time in his life maintained it for more than 6 months. "I never had to grow up because they never made me," he told me during a careful lunch meeting, our first one-on-one encounter since the break-in. "Watching you stand your ground made me realize how infantilized I've been. It's embarrassing, honestly. While these changes in my family are meaningful, I've learned not to place my emotional well-being in their hands. The most profound transformation has been in how I've built a chosen family of supportive friends and colleagues who value me for exactly who I am." Alice and her husband now include me in their weekly dinner gatherings. My coworkers at the accounting firm who rallied around me during the crisis have become close friends outside of work. I've joined a hiking group that meets monthly for challenging trails and fireside conversations. These connections, based on mutual respect and genuine affection rather than obligation, have shown me what healthy relationships truly feel like. The healing journey hasn't been linear. There are still days when the old pain surfaces when a casual comment triggers memories of decades of unequal treatment. Dr. Morgan has helped me develop tools to acknowledge these feelings without being consumed by them, to recognize the truth of my past while not allowing it to dictate my future. The greatest wound in childhood emotional neglect, she explained during a recent session, is the message that your feelings don't matter. The greatest healing comes from finally believing that they do. I've learned to trust my emotional responses, to validate my own experiences, without requiring external confirmation. I've discovered that self-compassion isn't selfishness, but the foundation for authentic connections with others. The incident with the credit card and the subsequent break-in, while traumatic, ultimately gave me the push I needed to break free from patterns that had constrained me for decades. Sometimes it takes a dramatic rupture to create space for new growth. My relationship with my family continues to evolve. We maintain contact, but with clear boundaries and expectations. I no longer attend events where I'm treated as an afterthought or expected to contribute more than others. I decline invitations that come with unfair conditions. I speak up when old patterns emerge, naming them calmly but firmly. Sometimes my boundaries are respected, sometimes they're tested, but the difference now is that I no longer question my right to have them. The guilt that once would have consumed me has been replaced by a steady certainty that protecting my well-being is not just acceptable but necessary. Perhaps the most unexpected outcome of this painful chapter is my newfound tradition of solo journeys. Every few months, I take a long weekend to explore somewhere new, to spend time in my own company without distractions or obligations. These small adventures have become sacred time for reflection and renewal, a reminder that I am complete and worthy on my own. The Hawaii vacation my family planned never happened, but I recently returned from a week in Maui, a trip I planned and paid for myself on my own terms. As I stood on the black sand beach watching the sunrise, I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. The journey to this moment had been difficult, but standing there wholly myself and free from the weight of unequal expectations, I knew it had been worth every painful step. Sometimes the greatest act of love we can offer ourselves is the courage to say no to those who cannot see our worth. Sometimes the family we need isn't the one we're born into, but the one we create through conscious choice and mutual respect. And sometimes the most important vacation isn't to an exotic destination, but away from the patterns that have kept us small. I am Cassandra, 32 years old, and I am finally the author of my own story. The next chapter is entirely mine to write. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your own experiences with family boundaries in the comments. Have you ever had to stand up to loved ones who crossed a line? What helped you find the courage to protect yourself? Please like this video if it spoke to you. Subscribe for more stories about finding strength through difficult family dynamics, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to prioritize their own well-being. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you, but by how you learn to treat yourself.